Nathaniel Bandy. Striving for originality.
Smash and Compare!
Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Smash and Compare. I would have normally hosted this episode, but I gotta go take a dump. So, without further ado, I am Wolfie Poo's gonna host.
I'm always on the sidelines in case Dylan has to go take a dump. So let's begin. Welcome to the next episode of Smash and Compare, where we talk about the fastest thing alive, Sonic. Well, maybe not. This episode was going to be about Sonic, but due to Lucas's recent revival, we decided to do him instead. Before we start, we want to say that this was made before Lucas came in Smash 4. After he came in, the Smash 4 data was added in the script, and I say that because it means all facts are from Brawl unless stated otherwise that they're from Smash 4. Also, some Smash 4 data is probably set to change in the future, and the Lucas Brawl facts will pretty much be the main part of the episode. Now let's get started on Smash and Compare's first ever clone episode. Although I don't think he's a clone, but whatever. One thing that's always cool is when you think that something isn't referenced in Smash, but then you realize that it has a small cameo that you didn't notice. For some people, this is the case with the coffee table from Mother 3. In Mother 3, the coffee table was a way of moving around by the Mr. Saturns. In Brawl and Smash 4, it is used as Lucas's entry into battle. This is the game's only appearance of the table. It doesn't even appear in the stickers in Brawl. Lucas's regular ground combo in both games are two fast kicks followed by a quick roundhouse kick. The two kicks at first do 3%, but the final one does 4%, bringing the total damage to 10%. In Smash 4, it does 2% to 2% to 4% for a total of 8%. For his forward tilt, Lucas does a backhand and shoots a little bit of Shai that can be angled up or down. If it's angled down, it has the chance to trip opponents. It does 11%, but if the foe is a bit behind Lucas, then it's only 9%. In Smash 4, Lucas launches a small bit of Shai that does more damage if the move hits farther away from him. It does 11% for a sweet spot and a 7 to 8% for sour spot. The up tilt is nothing more than an aerial flip kick charged with Shai. It can chain into itself at low percentages. It hits 2 times doing 3% then 8%. In Smash 4, it hits once for 9 to 10%. His down tilt is like Ness's in the fact that it's a fast move that can be used over again and again. But where Ness's uses a kick, Lucas is more of a sweep. The tip of the attack can make other fighters trip, and it does 6% in Brawl and 3% in Smash 4. With the dash attack, Lucas will do sort of a slide and shoot Shai out of his hand. This has high startup lag, but it has a decent range. This normally does 12% but 10% if the tip of the attack hits. In Smash 4, it does 13% for a sweet spot and 9% for a sour spot. Now we move on to smash attacks. Luckily, these are a bit less basic than the last moves we talked about, because while Ness is known for having weak smash attacks, Lucas is known for the complete opposite. His forward smash has him bringing out a stick similar to how Ness brings out his baseball bat. Like Ness, it's a reflector. Though it is weaker than Ness's and it does come out a little faster. This move has some decent knockback, and uncharged it does 15% and fully charged doing 21%. In Smash 4, it does 14%. Now we come to his famous up smash. In this move, Lucas shoots out a burst of Shai from his hands above him. Now, while this attack has slow startup lag and terrible ending lag, it makes up for its extremely high knockback and range. The only up smash in Brawl stronger than this is Ivysaur's. I mean, this move KOs at 48% when fully charged. It does a max of 21% uncharged and a total of 29% if fully charged. In Smash 4, Lucas does 2 hits with the first doing 2% and the second hit doing 19%. The down smash will make Lucas shoot 3 shots of Shai at his feet. Each shot will be progressively weaker, but it will gain bigger hitboxes. Though this move will almost never have all the hits connect, it's still a great move for edge guarding. Uncharged in Brawl, it does 17%, 14%, 11%, while for its fully charged state, it does 23%, 20%, 15%. In Smash 4, the first hit does 17%, the second hit at 14%, and the third one at 11%. Now let's look at them aerials. Lucas's neutral air has him spinning around in a gyro pattern with Shai energy around him. This move has a decent knockback and is as fast as aerial. This is also an effective move on shields. It hits 8 times with 7 hits of 2% and 1 of 3%. In Smash 4, it hits 8 times. The first 4 attacks do 1% and the second one doing 4%. Lucas will kick his foot forward with Shai for his forward air. This normally does 12%. 10% of the opponent is a bit behind Lucas, and 8% if it hits on the final frames. In Smash 4, it does 11 to 12% for a sweet spot and 8% for a sour spot. For his back air, Lucas thrusts his feet forward while particles of Shai bring the opponent downwards. It has a low knockback though. If the tip of the foot or the last Shai particles hit, then it becomes a decent and flashy meteor smash. It does 10% when sour spotted, 12% when sweet spotted, and 7% during the last few frames. In Smash 4, it does 12% for a sweet spot, 9% for a sour spot, and 7% if the last frames only hit. His up air is a basic headbutt that does 13% in both games and decent knockback but with a bit of end lag. For his down air, will kick 4 times below him with little bits of Shai. The 4th hit does a meteor smash like his back air. If you want to chain the hits and not meteor smash, then you can hold up during the first 3 hits. This move does up to 20% if all hits connect. In Smash 4, it does 3 to 4% for rapid hits and 5% for the final hit. Now we can talk about Lucas's grab. Lucas will put out a snake and bring the opponent to him. This is a pretty good grab due to its long range and lack of lag. The snake itself is named Rope Snake and belonged to Duster in Mother 3. He was used to do things like cross pits by holding on to candles. He had to let down the characters in trouble a couple times, so he left the party. At the end of the game, he changed his name to Snake Rope to cope with his shame. But back to the grab. Lucas is one of the 4 other characters to have grabs as tether recoveries, with the other ones being Link, Toon Link, and Samus. One really cool thing about Rope Snake is that if it's used with short hops, then it can be used to get rid of landing lag completely. So that's right everyone, Lucas can freaking L cancel and brawl. In Smash 4, the snake is a longer tether and can do damage in mid-air doing 4%. One interesting thing about Rope Snake is that while most will know he bobbles his head on the edge, he also does it in mid-air as well. Though you can only tell when 1 to 4 speed is on in training. Also, if you want to see Lucas's hair flatten up, then just use this move on a slope. Now, as you can tell, Lucas is one of the best grabs in Brawl, arguably. Though when it comes to pummels, he doesn't have one of the best. He has the best. No doubts, this is a certified fact. Well, when talking about how good it is in battle and not personal preference anyway. Why is it the best? Because it is fast. Really fast. So fast that if timed right, these headbutts that do 3% each can do 9% a second. In Smash 4, it does 1 to 2%, and his throws, nothing short of awesomeness. His forward throw is nothing too special, being just a toss Lucas controls with his mind, but it does 10% and can KO at high percents near an edge. His back throw is a different story though. His backwards throw, again controlled by Lucas's mind, does 10% as well, but is one of the strongest back throws in Brawl and has high KO potential. His up air is again a toss-up controlled by his mind doing 10%. His down throw, however, is amazing. It only does 7%, but it's the strongest down throw in Brawl. In Smash 4, it buries the opponent during the duration of the grab, plus it can be followed with an up tilt for more damage. In Smash 4, all of Lucas's throws do 10%. Now time for the bulk of the characters, the specials. His neutral special is a PK freeze. This move has Lucas shooting a side-based snowflake over his head. When the snowflake charges enough, it will explode, freezing other fighters and do heavy damage to anyone who gets hit. But Lucas can actually make the snowflake explode whenever he feels like. This move, many would say, is better than PK Flash, Ness's neutral special, since it has more horizontal distance and it charges up faster. In Smash 4, it does 9 to 22%. In Mother 3, Lucas didn't use this move at all. Instead, it was used by his friend Kumatora. We're getting heated up with PK Fire, Lucas's side special. In this move, Lucas will launch a lightning bolt and make a fiery explosion. Now, we all know how Ness's PK Fire goes, and if you don't, well, his episode will be made on some fateful day. But Lucas's PK Fire is a bit different. Unlike Ness's, Lucas's PK Fire will go in a straight and horizontal line. Plus, the explosion is different, being a quick burst of fire knocking the opponent back horizontally. It's one of Lucas's most varied moves. In Smash 4, it does 9%. This move in Mother 3 was also used by Kumatora instead of Lucas. Lucas is a jerk. Now time for the up special, PK Thunder. Lucas fires a blue ball of Shai that can be controlled. If the ball hits himself with fuck. No. If the ball hits himself, it will launch him, making a human projectile. This is also his main form of recovery. Lucas's PK Thunder is a move that looks like Ness's, but it's pretty different. First off, this move can go through opponents and even some other objects, making it able to score multiple hits. Also, this move is slower and has a shorter tail, but this move turns into a tighter circle than Ness's, being more likely to get him out of narrow spaces. It also does more damage, doing 9 to 10%. Also, when Lucas turns himself into a human projectile with this move, he turns into a multi-hitting human projectile instead of Ness, who just hits the opponent once. It even travels farther on the ground, making it more effective. If Lucas barges into an opponent and all hits connect, it will do 43% and have extreme knockback, making it Lucas's most damaging move, not counting PK Starstorm. This move in Smash 4 does 3% for the first hit and 1% for the multi-hits after. And again, this move was used by Kumatora and not Lucas. One interesting thing is that PK's Thunder hard to control nature might be a reference to the fact that PK Thunder could miss and not do any damage in the Mother series. Got all that? Well, I hope you absorbed it because now it's time for Side Magnet. Puns. The puns, man. Each character will bring up a ball that if energy projectiles hit will heal the player. Lucas's is like Ness's but better in almost every way. Now Lucas only brings the portal in front of him unlike Ness, though it doesn't really matter since Lucas will turn to absorb projectiles that hit him in the back anyway. It also comes out and goes away faster. The move heals 2.5% the projectile's damage, making it have a 56% improvement over Ness's. And the last real difference is that Lucas's magnet has a small hitbox on his hand that will do 9% and a good knockback. This can make Lucas do many advanced techniques. In Smash 4, it did 8%, and you can't do many of the advanced techniques from Brawl with it. And as you guessed, Kumatora learned it and not Lucas. And now time for our last move of the day, PK Starstorm. This final smash will make Lucas fire meteors that rain down on the stage. Though it may sometimes miss opponents, it's likely an opponent will bounce off a lot of meteors if they hit just once. Lucas's PK Starstorm is a bit different from Ness's in some ways. For one, the meteors are a more yellowish color and aren't as spread out as Ness's. And they deal a bit less damage than Ness's, doing only 14%. In Smash 4, they do 8% and are blue. Lucas's Starstorm is more effective on smaller stages than Ness's due to it being less opened out. And you'll never guess who used this move in Mother 3. Not Lucas, that's for sure. Now that we're done with the moveset, let's talk about other stuff. Lucas has 3 taunts. You know, like every other character in Smash 4. For the up taunt, Lucas trips, shakes his head, and gets back up. His down taunt has him moving some Psy particles on his hand to the side. His side taunt has him talking with Rope Snake before putting the little guy back in his pocket. He also has 3 victory poses. His first one has him playing with a stick away from the camera, then looking at the screen going, His second one has him moving more Psy across his fingertips. And his last one has him pulling one of the 7 needles from Mother 3 out of the ground. His idle poses just has him tapping his shoes and swinging his arms in front of him. Oh, and his sleeping animation is just him sitting with his head lowered. Okay, let's talk about even more stuff that I've noticed. First off, what is Lucas's deal with Psy? Or in better words, why does he use it so much when compared to Ness? I know he uses it because it's his special power, but he almost never stops using it compared to Ness. The only moves that don't have him using it are his forward smash, his up air, down tilt, and his regular ground attack. Another thing is, why does Lucas have a thing for tripping? I mean, 3 of his moves can trip and he has a taunt that has him tripping. Plus he trips in a cutscene from the Subspace Emissary. We'll address this in a moment, but still. And now for the last thing I'm gonna mention, Lucas's character. Sit down, this might take a while. And one thing cool about Smash is how they insert characters' personalities in games. I mean, Wario is gross and kind of a jerk, so it's put in his moveset and taunts and all. DDD is kind of goofy and all, which is explained by his facial expressions, which get more detailed in Smash 4. And Luigi is a coward, which brings me to Lucas in that Lucas is pretty much, without a doubt, the most developed character in Smash. Now, if you don't know who Lucas is or aren't familiar with his game, I'll explain. Lucas's life sucks. Why? Well, I'm not going to tell you the ending due to spoilers, but I will say Brawl itself mentions the death of his parents. All you need to know is that Lucas, just like in his game, is a scared child in Brawl, and I really think it shows in his Smash Bros character. Why does he use Psy mostly? Because he's afraid to use his physical power. Why does he trip opponents a lot? Because he's fighting scared. Why does he trip as a taunt and has a victory animation where he faces away from the screen? Because he's clumsy and alone. And this really shines throughout in the Subspace Emissary. Literally, the first image we see of Lucas is him walking through the ruined zoo depressed. He then gets terrified of Porky, he then trips and is almost killed, he then runs away after again being scared to death, but after his journey with Pokemon Trainer and all, he gets a lot braver. But I don't think this character development stops there, because in his Smash 4 character announcement trailer, we see him being brave, confident, and even saving Ness. And I think it was really nice to have Lucas be a more fleshed out character than he needed to be, but that's just my thoughts on it. Well, anyway, hope you enjoyed the video and be sure to check back for new Smash and Compare episodes. And as for credits, a big thanks to researcher and scriptwriter Karate Kid Austin, voiced by me, I am Wolfie Poo, editor by GamingTV, and original idea and channel hosting by Nathaniel Bandy. Sources include Smash Wiki, Smashopedia, YouTube, and personal experiences.